Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. Actually, I should probably make myself big for the intro. Happy Wine Wednesday. Oh, no, now I'm on. Okay, we're working on it, all right? Happy Wine Wednesday is what I'm trying to say. I am sipping on some Chardonnay. Let me know in the comments what you are sipping on. The only updates I really have for this week is I'm sorry that I haven't gotten anything done. My daughters, my twin, now 16-year-old daughters, had their sweet 16 this past weekend, and it took up all my time all week, and then recovering from it because I had 25 teenagers running around the house and it was chaos. However, the website is almost done. I got some clues from Vincent and Holly last week, and we're going to have a gallery where everyone can upload their pictures so we can see all our beautiful seahorses. And we'll have the shirts and everything. The website will be done by next week. I'm dedicating myself to it this week. Sorry it's taken so long, but there will be a lot of cool things coming, so just watch for posts. Other than that, Dan did join us a few weeks ago. He's going to come back when he can, and we're going to still do Ask Seahorse Source Part 4. The only other things I have to say is if you're on Instagram, don't forget that once I make myself small again, you won't be able to see us in the correct aspect ratio. You can feel free to listen in on Instagram, or if you want to see the video and actually interact with us, jump on over to YouTube, search Seahorse Whisperer. Once you find the channel, that'll be the first thing you see. Also, we're up to 7 members. Woo! I'm excited. That excites me. But I do need my members' help on getting things going. Like I've never done this before, guys, so I'm trying, but I know we have to make some things cool for each tier. Those of you that are experts need your t-shirts. I am working on it. It will come to fruition, I promise. Just bear with me because I'm new to this. But we'll get all these cool things going. In the meantime, tonight is, final thing is, if you were a winner last week in the Robert King Char Chamber episode, if you were a winner of one of his prizes and you have not contacted him or reached out to him, I will be giving him your name. Again, this week's been horrible, but you will get your prize. I will make sure he has your name, and just stay tuned and make sure that when you post that you got your prize, that you tag me and Robert, of course, because we all want to congratulate and celebrate. All right. Now, it is open chat tonight, so no special guest. And basically, I have Ray, Cheryl, and Holly with me already. I think Vincent had to take the night off, but it's open chat. So let's chat about whatever you guys want to chat about. And with that, I'm done rambling. How are you guys doing tonight, Ray, Cheryl, Holly?
I'm wore out.
A little bit better
for somebody else.
Holly, try having literally 25 teenagers running around the house. I mean, my planning for it and then finally executing it and then being done with it. I do have some news though. My female from Vincent has turned bright yellow. I need to post a picture, but I mean, I don't know why. I don't know if it's the lighting. I know we had a question about lighting last week and how that changes the seahorse. And I'm telling you, this seahorse just all of a sudden is chasing the males, turned bright yellow. And usually in your guys' experience, isn't it the male that does all the color changing and looking all pretty when he's trying to mate? No, it's the female?
Both.
Really?
My females typically, whether it be combs or erectus or engines, they typically stay more to the red, orange, or yellow colors. Males are typically darker. They do lighten up some when they're courting, but they don't seem to change as much as my females. Don't ask me why.
Okay. Okay, first of all, Kevin said, "Hi, everyone. Hope this works better than Facebook. You couldn't post comments at all this afternoon." What do you mean, Kevin? Like on a live stream, or tell me what you're talking about. We see your comments though, so we're glad you're here.
Yeah,
love you.
YouTube.
Glad you're here.
It might be a Facebook glitch. I've had that happen before.
Absolutely. But we're glad you're here and hope you were there last week. Oh, I think you missed last week. We did Robert King again. It was amazing. We talked about the char chambers. But anyways, Holly, you said that your males are the ones that change colors usually?
No, I said both.
Okay.
But The females generally will be brighter, I've noticed, and change like more often. Like I have females that like to be really white, ones that like to be really yellow, and they're not always like sometimes they'll change to something else. But the males, other than right during the time when they're courting and they flush, kind of, and their
Right,
features,
right.
get outlined in black and they look all handsome and cool. Other than that, they pretty much stay the color that they are. Like they pick one and stick with it. And Scrappy Doo is my only really yellow male. He's really yellow. All my other males seem to like to be like a brownish shade. But I have
Hmm.
females that are yellow or white or brighter.
Well, that's interesting
And
because
males will lighten up in courting, but they tend to, and especially once they're pregnant, they tend to go much darker. Of course, they stay hidden also.
Mhm.
And it's just that's my experience with them. The males tend to actually change color more often than the females because they pretty much stay bright all the time. There, male gets pregnant, he goes and hides, and what's she doing? She's gonna go over there and find another male to dance with.
okay, so real quick, just not to change subject, guys, but okay, so comments seem to be working on my Facebook live stream, but Kevin, it might be because I use software to do it. So like Tank Talk with Tyann and Robert King, I think they use just Facebook. So Holly's probably right. It probably was a glitch. But in mine, not only do the comments from Facebook work and show up, and I'll put my little comment right there showing up. But I would say also, I didn't know, apparently on Facebook, Seahorse Whisperer is now eligible for stars. And I just did it for myself just to test it out. So if you don't know what stars are, I didn't either. Don't worry. But if you're on Facebook and we do a live stream that really helps you, or we answer your question, or you just want to support the stream, apparently you can do stars. That's us. I know it doesn't look very good, but I'll do a post about it later. But basically, apparently you can send 200 stars for 99 cents to support the channel. I'll do a post later. We'll figure it out. This stuff's all new to me, guys. But okay, so with seahorses, in my case, it's always been that the females stay kind of, I don't want to say dull. They're all beautiful and pretty, and they do change when they're courting, but they kind of just not as exotic. I'm glad. This is why I need help with the website. This is why I need experts to help me come up with the information, because I would have said that the males are more colorful. They are the ones that change more drastically. They have more spots, they have more stripes, they have more saddles. They when they're flirting with a girl, when they're flirting with a guy, doesn't matter. They're going to change colors, lighting, everything affects them. And in my case, it's never been the female, but now it is. So, I mean, just goes
Yeah,
to show,
my
who knows?
females are the ones that change, and it's a lot of it has to do with where they're hanging out, where they choose to hang out. So
Yep,
I have a lot of different colored things in my tanks.
sure.
So they might spend a day in one spot and be white for that day. Then the next day they might go somewhere else and be yellow.
Yep.
So
I'll give you an example. I had a male that I got from Draco Marine years ago, Erectus, and he came in silver. He never changed silver, but every morning when he was pregnant, she would go search the entire tank, and it was a 65-gallon, and she would find he usually hung out in the rocks, and she would turn her head and up back behind the cornet, bright silver to match him as a greeting every morning.
So
Don't
cool.
ask me.
Yeah,
Each one is different.
I think you're right. I think it's individuals. And hey, Chris, Carrie, so glad you're here. When are you going to come in and join us again and tell us what you're up to? Because we know you're up to a lot. And hey, Tana, sorry, I always say that wrong. And I already said hi to Kevin. Hi, Shyla. And Shyla said, for Whitey Eye, I only noticed my male changing his color. Not much changes for my female, or at least not a drastic change. See, that's what I always experienced. Ray, what about you? Have you
I
noticed a
think it
difference in
depends
that?
on the individuals.
Yeah.
I've had some batches, for instance, that I reared myself that once they got to about 6, 7 months, uh, there was quite a few in the batch that would frequently change their colors. Other batches from the same parents never ever did at all,
Mm.
and yet
Yep,
they'd be
I've seen
reared
that.
in same setups.
Hmm.
So I don't know
It
what.
depends on the individuals. Yeah, I've had typically most of my combs. When I first got into combs, the males stayed much darker, more of a brown. The females were however, as time went on, the males also started changing colors more, unless they were pregnant. And sometimes it was like, wait a minute, are you a boy or a girl? Just because I was just the color. And uh, Erectus change color crazy. So do engines, for that matter. I've got pictures of engines. A male whose favorite color was to be copper in color.
Yep. And Chris Carey just said depends on the species for sure. I mean, I think
Yes.
that's true. I just personally have always thought that, or always in my experience, have had the males have brighter colors, more markings that made them more unique. You know what I'm saying? But hey, now I'm seeing something different with Vincent's female. She's coloring up for me and being all crazy. And Aphrodite is like bright white. So, go figure. I do think too that rock plays a part. We've talked about this endlessly before,
Yeah.
but the bottom line is any tank I have rock in, my seahorses turn the color of the rock, even when there's other decorations. You know what I mean? Have you
Yep.
guys noticed that?
Yep.
Ray, you
Yeah,
said no?
because
Yeah.
mine are the color of they're wanting to be the color of the artificial reef I put in, has rock. It's got a lot of bright corals and plants as part of it too, but they want to match the rock part of it when they're
Yep.
over there.
Why do you think that is? Like it's just because it's the structure, it's the, like the reef to them or whatnot?
I think it's their camouflage because what they do in there, I've noticed since I put that in, they're getting used to it now. They're not shy of it anymore. And they like to go exploring in it and
Mhm.
go through the tunnels and through the caves and underneath it. And I think they feel stealthy.
Gotcha.
Your male has an obsession with climbing into the shark.
Oh, that's Dandy. Yeah, Dandy loves his birthday shark. It was funny that when I first put that in, I mean, most of they don't care too much about anything. They're not afraid of anything really in general. They've never had to be. So usually when I put something new in, they're not really afraid of it. They might be just kind of, what's that at first? But it
Yep.
was funny because when I put the shark in, Candy didn't care about it. She was hanging out with it right away. Dandy, Scrappy Doo, they pretty much ignored it. Nobody cared that much. But Sadie had a thing at first. She was really shy of it and she didn't want to go over there by herself.
Huh.
So she tried to get Candy to come with her because she wanted to she was stretching out from another hitch. She was curious about it, but she wouldn't go. She had a hold of Candy's tail and was trying to drag her over there. And Candy wouldn't go. So she went and tried to get Scrappy Doo. And he wasn't interested either. And finally, she made it over there to check it out. And then she was like, oh,
It's cool.
it's just a thing. Yeah, but at first it was funny. She was shy of it for some reason.
I like the
You
picture
know what?
inside the shark's
Yeah,
mouth.
when Dandy's inside the mouth, yeah, because it's hollow inside, so he can go
Yep.
through it.
Holly, I
Yeah.
see you're drinking wine with me tonight, aren't you?
I am because I've been snowed in for 2 weeks
Oh,
and it's so cold. And so I wanted to drink something that wasn't cold.
yeah.
And I don't normally drink wine, but I had a bottle of Yellowtail left over from Thanksgiving that we didn't know. so, so,
Well,
so that's
cheers
what I'm
to
having
that.
tonight.
Cheers to that. And I would say,
So here's my wine choice of today.
hey, it works. It works. And again, let me know what you're drinking in the comments. But I would also say that it's really interesting to me that we, keepers that have been keeping seahorses for a while, if someone new came in, they would probably think we're nuts because it's like days of our lives.
Yeah.
Candy took Sadie
Yeah.
to this, and I mean that's what it is, I mean,
Yeah,
I
when you
did look
pay
at the.
attention to them that much, you get to know them.
Yep, they have
Oh, yeah.
personalities,
At least
and
they're
I
not
will
having
be.
false impressions.
What, Ray?
At least they're not having false impressions if they think you're nuts.
Oh, speaking of Ray cracking on me, I did see that I did get many comments on the post about naming my Vincent seahorses. I will be posting and announcing their names this week, probably tonight after this stream. So thank you for all your comments and your advice because I love the comments that I got. And they do have names now, but we'll leave that for the post because I
Yep.
do still name my seahorses.
One thing real quick that I loved
Yes,
when
Jen.
the first time I saw it is I had a bunch of bouncing baby seahorses in a 55-gallon tank, which is 36 inches long. And it was in the living room. And when I walked back in and I started to walk past the tank, they'd all swim to the front and follow me across the tank.
Of course.
But they wouldn't do it with anybody else.
You're the feeder.
I was the only person. Yeah. They were looking at me saying, we're starving, feed us. And they associated, they were good enough to associate me with food and nobody else.
Yeah, they know the keeper of the food.
And they're not stupid.
Oh, yeah.
They actually are very smart, in at least that's my opinion. They learn you just as much as you learn them, right?
Yeah.
And you guys, I
Yeah.
do have one update story. Anyone who's trying to put more seahorses in a tank, trying to push the limits, let me just tell you, don't. I've been doing this for a long time, and well, here's the story. So I went to turn the tank on or turn the lights on. The tank's on already. You guys know that. And I see my older Ocean Rider female, who I never named. I gotta name her too. But she was stuck to. Actually, let me back up. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm trying to do a 40-gallon all-in-one with no sump. We on this channel absolutely recommend sumps, but I'm trying to make it easier for someone who just wants to keep a pair of seahorses, maybe not breed, maybe not, go to crazy extents, just have a cool tank. I'm trying to prove that that's possible. It's been going for quite a while. It's going well. Everything's great. But then Kelly got all, I want to breed again and I want babies again. And so I got two seahorses from Holly, and then I got 2 seahorses from Vincent. Long story short, in this 40-gallon all-in-one, I currently have 5 seahorses. Okay, that's way too much for a 40-gallon all-in-one. And I thought that I could compensate by doing extra water changes, and it was only, for a little bit. I was going to move them once I figured out who paired with who and blah, blah, blah. So the story is I woke up, I went to turn on the lights to get them awake too. I find my Ocean Rider female stuck to the intake. If you've ever seen a 40-gallon all-in-one, the compartments are behind the tank and there's little slits where the water goes through to get back there. And she was stuck to it. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? Something's wrong with her. This is terrible. She's weak, something. And so I went over, and as soon as I walked up and they saw my face, she swam off of it. Here's what she was doing.
Trying to get.
I told you guys, no, listen. I told you guys, they all fight to sleep hitched to the airline that connects to the Robert King char chamber, right? They all want to sleep there with the bubbles going up their butts. I don't know. It's what they like. And so apparently this female had lost the battle because the other seahorses were all attached to the char chamber airline, and she was stuck to the filter. She wasn't even stuck. She was just sleeping
wanted
there
to be
because she
there.
couldn't get
Extra
like.
filtration.
But I will ask this question, and Ray, I want your thoughts first. So obviously they're loving the bubbles. We know seahorses love bubbles. They love the little shower. That's great. But I did notice, going back to, I know I'm rambling, guys. I'm sorry, wine. But I did notice, because I've got so many seahorses in the tank, I've been paying attention, and I did notice a couple of times they're doing this with their tail up and flicking their head. Not constantly. I'm talking about, I saw it once in the past week, but I saw 2 of them doing it. Okay. So I took a video, even maybe I'll try to pull it up and show you guys, but 2 of them were doing this weird thing. And then the male even like scratched his tail, his not anal fin. What's the one on the back? Pectoral? I can't remember, but the back fin, he was
Dorsal?
like
The dorsal fin.
Thank you. So he's flicking his dorsal fin. I will pull up the video. It's not great, but I'll show you guys. So instantly I was like, oh shit, ciliates, right? Because I've got too many seahorses in the tank. Organics have built up. But Ray, can they do that once in a while without it being a major issue? I'm gonna freshwater dip just to be safe, but
I would
what's your thoughts?
imagine it's possible, but first thing I'd be doing is a dip just to find out.
Yeah. So
Why leave it and then find out you left it too long and the infestation's too big?
Right. And they're not having any trouble. They eat like pigs. They're dancing like crazy. I'll show you guys the video to get your thoughts, because it was just so weird and so random, but it worried me. And I was like, I know I have too many seahorses in this tank. I got to fix this. Something needs to give. I mean, I get all of the points that we try to make for everybody else, but I was just, I don't know. I'll show you the video. But with the bubbles, Ray, do you think that they love bubbles or laying up against the?
It's like you rubbing your back against the corner and doorway of your house.
Yep.
You've got an itch, you need it scratched. Well, the itch, in the case of seahorses, may be due to parasitic action.
But even then, it's making them feel better.
Yeah, all seahorses are going to have parasites on them, in them, whatever.
Sure.
That's just the way things are. And so just being in the bubbles itself is not something that I'm concerned about. I do get concerned though if they start using that tail, because that means they're wanting something stronger than just the relief that they get from the bubble action. And so I'd be checking out there. There's something that has possibly allowed those parasites to expand in numbers. And once they get an increase in numbers, the seahorse is not comfortable.
Well, and frankly, as I've said, I've got too many seahorses in there. And I know the signs. So like right now, I know, something's probably going bad. Either I need to really man up and do my water changes a lot more, or get some seahorses out of that tank, because this is just proof you don't want that many seahorses in a tank. You need to stick to the 30-gallon volume.
I don't think the number of seahorses are the problem. I think there's something that is stressing the seahorses, and when they get stressed, that's when the numbers start increasing. But just by having a lot of seahorses in the tank, that in itself is not enough to allow expansion of the parasites.
Well, that's why I want you to watch this video, is because maybe I'm just overreacting. Either way, I'm going to probably freshwater dip just to check, but like, watch this video. And of course, my tank is cloudy again. I'm telling you guys, I know what Ray said is true just now, but if you want to have a clear tank, beautiful tank, going on tank, just don't pack it with seahorses, because I know what I'm doing is pressing the limits. and I keep having problems, and I can fix it by not having so many seahorses in the tank. But let me see if I can pull this up for you guys, because I couldn't tell if it was just, go ahead.
I saw your comment, Ray, about the seahorses doing a lot of stupid things. It's true. The way I explain it, though, is that they're smart. They seem smart about some things, but they're lacking in logic. They
Right.
like
don't
the
seem
kids.
to understand their body proportions or directions sometimes.
Yeah,
I
just
don't
like
know. I've had several males, in fact, that when they got very pregnant, their favorite pastime is they would go and hitch to the airline, to an airline, a bubble line, and
Uh-huh.
they'd sit there and watch, and they'd slowly move back and forth. It was like that they were using the airline as a massage of their pouch when they were getting very, very pregnant. And at
Sure.
first, I thought it was just one oddball, but I've seen it out of several males now. That obviously feels better, and I'm sure it helps move the fry around that are still in the pouch. And it may be an instinctive thing too.
Yeah, I
Well,
have
sure.
one decoration that I think you showed a video of it one time. I shared it. It's this little like alien looking rubbery silicone plant thing with really fine little tickly flower things on it.
And they love it.
And the females, especially, I haven't seen the males do it actually, but the females go, especially right around the time they have eggs. They'll go and rub themselves in it like they're getting a massage. They love that
Yeah,
little.
that's what it look. It obviously feels good, and they
Mhm.
definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with it. I love them attached to the Robert King chamber for sure. But I want to make sure that I don't have a silly issue, you know. And this is just showing you guys, even someone that's done this for a long time runs into these things when you press the limits, is my entire point of this. And please excuse the cloudy tank. This was literally just after a water change. And Ray, as you watch this, I want to know a couple of things. Number one, could it just be because all the gunk was mucked up as I did the water change and scrubbed all the sides and scrubbed, did all this stuff? Obviously, I knew it would be cloudy, but could that be what's bothering them? And also, you talk about a stressor being the problem. It's not whatever else. Could it be this male? Because with the problems that I have had having so many seahorses in one smaller tank, I am moving some to another tank, and I'm thinking this male has to go because he's just kind of a bully, like my bachelors. But okay, here, let me show you, and you guys tell me what your thoughts
I
are.
like Shyla, Robert King's spa chamber. She says we should go.
There we go. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. All right, so excuse the cloudy. That's from the water change. And you see that? Is that just him moving to a different? Nope.
Oh, he's
See,
scratching.
that's scratching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So,
showing the fins.
and
He's
she does it in a
scratching the
minute,
dorsal
or
fin.
the other male. Sorry, it's another male, but he does it in a minute. And I think, see, that's not swimming. That's not trying to get up. That's him scratching, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm asking.
Yeah, I'd put them in fresh water and find out.
Okay, so next question is, could this be just, and they're stressed, you can tell by the coloring. Is this just because I did this massive ass water change, or,
No.
okay, so dip them. All
It's
right.
not something that's happened suddenly. Parasite increases come like bacteria. It takes some time for it to happen. So if you did this cleaning or whatever a couple days ago, it still wouldn't manifest itself already.
Well,
So
what I'm, okay.
something that's been gradually happening for probably at least a month or maybe more.
Well, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm sure the buildup is significant because I have so many seahorses in the tank. But my thing is, they always get stressed when I do a water change because I'm nuts and I go crazy and I clean the tank like crazy, right? Like I go nuts cleaning the tank.
I do that too. I pull everything out and scrub and stuff, but still,
and
it
scrub in
happens
there.
every week. Yeah, I scrub all the surfaces, and they get
You, your
used to it. It
seahorses?
happens every week.
Sorry.
So they're not really, I don't think they're really stressed by it per se because they get used to it over time.
Yeah.
But they don't scratch afterwards or anything like that. So I'm thinking, yeah, most likely some kind of parasite in his gills bugging him because I never see mine scratch their head with their tails since they were fry when I used to treat them with the formalin.
Well, and I've never seen these guys do this either. So that's, I guess, my only basic question. And I'll do a dip, and I'll record it for you guys for sure. But and if they don't react, that'll be really interesting. Because
Yeah.
again, I know that the buildup is significant because there's so many seahorses in there. I know better. I was just trying to pair them up. But the thing is, I feel like when I do my crazy massive water changes, it ends up, I mean, like you saw how cloudy the tank was. It was all cloudy and crazy. And I just feel like that gunk probably bugs them too, doesn't it? If the tank's so gunked up that it's cloudy, doesn't that bug a seahorse?
I don't imagine so because when you get seahorses in the wild and you get a storm, um, there's sometimes many days in a row that they probably can't even see themselves.
Sure, but do we know how they react to that? Maybe they're trying to scratch the shit off of them,
They
right?
probably don't like it.
Well, I don't imagine it's a
Well,
problem.
remember too,
Well, I'm going to do a dip, so we'll figure it out.
Remember-
Go ahead, Cheryl.
there's ectoparasites. That would include the ones that get into basically into the gill area somewhat. There's also parasites that are basically internal. That would be something like uronema. So they're going to respond differently to parasitic infections depending on what kind of parasite they picked up, which is something you have to think about too.
Well, I don't at all think this is some parasite picked up. Nothing new in the tank. I'm not worried about Vincent seahorses. This is obviously organics buildup, if anything, and ciliates. I'm not like fretting. I know you're just trying to give good advice, Cheryl, but just in my case, I absolutely know that they're fine. It's just buildup, ciliates, etc.
Don't you have anything you could polish the water with? A quick
What do you mean?
filter or anything like that?
Well, I used to have a what do you call it? A what's the
Dimentation
thing
fluid?
we don't like? No, the oh my gosh, I can't think of the dang word. The outside filter. What's it called, you guys? It sits on the
Canister
floor.
filter.
Thank you, Holly.
Canister filter.
I
They're
had
no
it.
good for that.
I used to have a canister that I just hitched up to the tank if there was like a cloudiness or a problem, and I filled it with floss. It wasn't like laid out like a canister. It literally was just a floss ball, and it would clear the tank quickly. The Robert King chamber also clears the tank quickly, but it's already in there and doing its job. And Poisonon's Kitchen Aquaculture said cloudy tank for massive water change signals a bacterial bloom, which drops oxygen, which could be why. That's really interesting too. Especially if it happens every time you do this. It doesn't honestly happen every week, every time. It's just when I go in deep and start messing with the rock and messing, scrubbing the bottom. And I mean, I clean the surfaces every time, but this time I went crazy because I wanted to start doing videos again, and the tank was not looking up to par. So I went kind of crazy. I probably didn't do a big enough water change. And Poisonon, I'm curious, even regardless of everything I just said, why would a massive water change initiate a bacterial bloom? Period. Every time. Why would that happen? Is it just because I'm too stocked? I'm curious what you guys think. Why would I keep
I'm
having
used to doing
bacteria?
water changes in the 95% range, and I've never had the problem. But
Yeah, I've only had it a couple
I've had
times.
people
I've had it in the
What?
grow out.
I've had people that bought seahorses from me, and they get the bacterial blooms, and that's something that the UV lights really are good for. So if you put a UV light on it and it doesn't clear up right away, then it's not a bacterial bloom.
Well, Poisonon said I could go on. Why don't you jump into the stream? If you want to message me, I'll give you a link for sure. Because this is open chat, and apparently I'm taking the stage and talking about my problems there.
I've
But
only had it happen like twice, and it was in the grow out tank when it was under a year set up. I had that happen like twice after a water change each time, but it cleared up within like a day or
see,
two.
this tank,
I
what
haven't seen it before
well, you
otherwise.
got, and I actually have some questions about K1. Like maybe something's going on with the K1, to be honest, because this tank was perfectly fine with just 3 seahorses. But then I added 2 more. Again, that's overstocked. I know it, but I thought I could compensate with water changes, and it's just not working. Every time I do a water change, a massive one, it ends up cloudy and crazy. So is it just that, like, am I not taking out enough water? Maybe that's it. Because I'm not doing 95%. I can tell you that. I'm not. I'm
There's
doing
too
less than
much
50.
bio load for the tank, maybe now.
Yeah,
I
it
think so
depends
too.
on your filtration and your bio load and your total water volume. There's so many variables. I have a tendency when I'm setting up a new tank or adding to a tank, I tend to over trash the tank specifically with ammonia for that reason.
Well, and I
And
did do
but
that with this tank, but you just brought up a good point, Cheryl. And that is, or my question about that is, why is it a bacterial bloom? That's my real question. This is not a new tank. It's been running over a year, and it's overstocked. So I'm guessing that's the answer. But why does scrubbing the tank and doing a huge water change cause a bacterial bloom? That doesn't make sense to me because I have over filtered the tank. I've got K1, I've got the Robert King char chamber, I've got the skimmer, the sterilizer, or the UV sterilizer. It just doesn't make sense to me that it's a bacterial bloom. And
because you've
someone
increased
said,
your bio load on the system,
yep, they can happen when you
basically.
add more life and the bio of the tank couldn't handle it. So really, this
How
just
many did you
isn't.
start with, and how many did you add?
I had 3 seahorses in there for a long time, and they're fine. I added 2 more. This is only a 40-gallon tank. It's overstocked. I know that that's the problem. I was just trying to let them pair up and etc. But every water change, it gets all cloudy. So I know it's overstocked. It can't handle it. Is the bottom line, right?
How
I
often
mean,
how often are you cleaning your filters and filter media?
every week, every water change.
The one thing that I would expect, if the bio load couldn't be handled when you added those extra 2, there should have been some signs of ammonia,
Mm-hmm. I would
because
think.
ammonia is the first thing that's going to show up if the
I've
bio
never
load
gotten that.
isn't handled.
I've never gotten a reading, and I test all the time. Got you guys stumped, eh? And
No,
Zen Ginger said it's usually because you have to give your cycle a chance to catch up, but cleaning and water changes slow that process. Again, in your freshwater experience, totally agree, Zen. But like this didn't happen when I should have made that part clear too. This didn't happen when I added the 2 new seahorses. For the first, say, 2-3 weeks, I did water changes. Everything was fine, no cloudy, everything was great. Then it started. I mean, I do know that the bottom line is there's too many seahorses in this tank. And because it's an all-in-one and not with a sump where I can add more filtration, it's just not catching up. But I just want to try to kind of figure out why that equals ciliates. Like I understand it. Oh, your organics build up. Now you got cloudy water changes, and then your ciliate explosion happens. But I mean, what else could I have done? Is my point. I'm trying to do this for other people. So when they run into this bigger water changes, or what would you do?
I think the first thing you're going to have to identify what the cloudiness is. Is it bacteria or is it just particulate matter? And if you can filter it out, it's particulate matter. If the UV kills it off, then you got a bacteria.
Okay, and if it's just particulate matter, could that be irritating the seahorses?
Uh,
Depends on what your water chemistry is with it.
I've never ever experienced it in all my years, but and as I say, particulate matter gets stirred up in the estuaries where the seahorses are residing, and they seem to get by with it just fine. So,
Well, again, I'm going to do the freshwater dips. I'm going to videotape them so you guys can see. But again, if they don't react, that'll be really interesting to me because that
yeah,
video that I just showed you guys where they're scratching and you're like, oh, that's
Mhm.
celiacs, that's parasites, that's something. They've not done it since at all. They're not like sitting
and I
scratching day
wouldn't be
after
doing a
day.
dip then. I thought this
And
was an ongoing thing. I wouldn't do a dip.
no, sorry. You
Yeah,
wouldn't?
I wouldn't do a dip for if it's not something that's ongoing. A dip is going
So
to stress
yeah,
them. And
something
if you're not doing it
irritated
now,
them at that time.
why stress them now if it's not going to happen again? If it starts up again
then dip them.
and continues, then do the dip then.
And Poisonon said you would love to join sometime and talk about bacteria. If you don't want to tonight, set up a message me, set up a time because I have so many questions about bacteria, and would love to have you on. And if you can't do it tonight, we'll set you up as a special guest even and have you on, and we can have a whole conversation about it for sure. And then Ginger,
I've got
go ahead, Cheryl.
when you got the other two new seahorses, had you been adding additional food prior to that to help the tank get acclimated to a higher bioload? Or did you just add them and then all of a sudden go, oh, now they're scratching?
Okay, well, first of all, you made a great point. I did not prepare the tank by adding more food before they came. So, great point. If you're going to add more seahorses to your tank, add more food so that the bacteria can catch up. And I did not do that. However, they didn't just start scratching. I mean, that's my whole point is they were fine for 3 weeks. I saw them do this scratching thing after a water change, and then they haven't since. So I don't that's why I'm like, I'm trying to help somebody new that sees that. Don't freak out. Take a minute. Like, I didn't throw them in a freshwater dip or throw them in formalin. I thought, ooh, that doesn't look good. I'm going to bring it to Wine Wednesday. We can talk about it. And then I'll watch them, observe them. If I see it continue, then I'm going to do these dips and do these treatments. But until then, don't stress them, right?
Well, what may have been going on is you may have actually gotten a higher than you planned on detritus level by adding the two new seahorses, but the tank was well enough cycled that it self-corrected in a brief period of time. And I haven't seen exactly what you're describing, but I definitely know when I have 30 plus bouncing baby seahorses that are now 3 inches long.
Yep.
Putting them in a 58-gallon tank is really overcrowding it, and I have to be really careful when I do it to really hypercycle that system with ammonia before I use it or any of those systems. Otherwise, I'm creating a problem for myself. And I'm wondering if you were really close to being okay, but yeah, and it could have come off your K1 media, it could have come off of a filter sock. It's hard to say. But the fact that it's self-corrected tells me a lot also. And it may have just been you were stirring stuff up when you did your water change.
Yep, but I am this, and thank you, Kevin. Poseidon, and that's a Greek god, isn't it? Isn't it
Poseidon, yeah, god of the sea.
sea? Yeah, the guy. Yeah, riding a seahorse. Love you. But we're gonna have him on. I'm gonna get with him and figure out when to have him on. But yeah, that's what I want to talk with him about a little bit more is just why, like, how to compensate if you do have an overcrowded tank and you don't have other tanks that you can move seahorses to. I do, and I planned on it. I did not plan on keeping that many seahorses in a 40-gallon. 5 seahorses in a 40-gallon is a no, no, no. But I thought I could handle it. But I'm having these cloudy episodes every water change, and they don't go away in a day. It's like cloudy most of the damn time anymore. So we got to get you in here to talk about it and what I can do to compensate, because I don't want somebody to find themselves in this position and just be screwed. Like if I can figure out a way to fix it, I already intend to move some of the seahorses. That was always the plan. But I'd like to figure out how to fix it for someone who can't move seahorses. Is kind of where I'm at.
Well, again, this isn't probably practical for the average hobbyist, but I always have extra cycled filter media that I have in other tanks that I keep cycled. I call it my just in case tank.
Well, and that's another thought, is maybe I'll add some new char to the Robert King chamber, because I haven't done that in a while. Maybe that would help too. But I honestly just think it's just overstocked, bottom line, and I'm too lazy to do the big water changes that it needs.
If I can keep 30 plus in a 58-gallon tank, you can keep 6 or 5.
Right. Well, and when I had Fry, man, they were packed in, but I was doing like either 100% or 90% water changes. And right now I'm lazy. Okay. Other side note is that I have not. Zen Ginger asked a great question. Did you add any new decor, or are you feeding differently? I have not added anything new, but obviously I'm feeding more because there's more seahorses and they gobble that shit up, let me tell you. But that adds to the vial load. They're eating it, they're pooping it. It's more for the tank to handle. So my mistake is hopefully someone new in the future's gain. Don't do this. Don't add too many seahorses, bottom line. And I will say too, going back to Holly's talk about decorations and stuff, I showed you guys the fake pink coral that I added to the tank when I started copying Holly and making it like Disneyland. They freaking love that thing too. I mean, if they're not on the Robert King chamber, they're on this pink coral. I figured out a way to put it within the rocks. I'll post a picture. But they love that thing. I mean, I honestly am thinking about taking out the rocks. I like the structure. I like the look. But it's really like if the K1's handling. But then again, actually, maybe this is another question for Poseidon. Poseidon. I'm saying it wrong. Poseidon. So sorry. But because if I'm already having trouble, removing rock would make it even worse, right? Because that is filtration.
That's a big part of your biofilter in your case, I think.
Yeah. So I'm kind of stuck. All right. Okay. Well, I'll save the rest of my questions for when he joins us. But yeah, that's what I'm struggling with now, guys.
Okay, I got a quick question for you on this too. Did you see any difference in the amount of scratching between the two brand new ones that you got? Or was it more prevalent in the 3 that you already had, or was there a difference?
Okay, so again, I didn't see any scratching period for weeks. The scratching that I showed you the video of was after a big water change, and that's a great question, Cheryl, because it was one of the Ocean Rider. It was the Ocean Rider male, and it was the Vincent male. Those were the 2 that were dancing around scratching. The rest were hitched and fine. And I haven't seen it since. That's what was so weird to me. Like,
they're sharing.
I was just saying, weren't those also the ones though that were kind of irritated with each other?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get into.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, and Ray, since you're back, I have one more question for you.
They made each other feel itchy.
Maybe. But Ray, the other part was at the end of that video when the Vincent male did the tail swipe, he actually doesn't touch himself. They need to use their tail to go down, right? I mean, like if they're in a stream.
I've seen mine do that.
I do too.
But, one that's not touching himself isn't scratching himself, but the other one is touching himself, definitely scratching.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
What I
I
thought.
don't disagree.
But if it was just a one-shot deal, like if it only happened that day, I don't understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
Me either. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm
Well,
asking.
I wonder if maybe the other one, maybe they touched each other somehow and didn't like it because they're not getting along well. You said they're competitive against each other. So maybe, I mean, that was just how he felt. He was acting it out physically.
Sorry, trying to read comments too. But yeah, no, I don't know. And I just, I'm
Because
gonna
I've
do what I have
seen
to
them,
do to make sure they're
how
okay.
sometimes if they touch each other and they don't like it, or if
Yep.
somebody's holding their tail too long, they get all let go of me,
Well,
and
and
shake.
you noticed in the video that the Ocean Rider bigger male, he looked funny. Like he turned colors. Like his whole body was black, but then his stomach was yellow. He was obviously irritated or
Yeah,
whatnot,
irritated by something. Yeah.
And the two Vincent Seahorses and Aphrodite and the female from Ocean Rider, they're all colorful and fine. It's just, I mean, I think the male is getting shunned. I really do. I think they're all shunning him, and he's not the cool cat,
Uh-huh.
badass male of the tank anymore, and he doesn't like it. But we'll see.
So
All
maybe
right.
I see Scrappy do give this shake sometimes. Like he'll not like it. Like if a plant touches him wrong, like if he's sitting in the plants and he accidentally, leans against one, and he doesn't like it. He acts like he's offended by it. He gives himself a shake, and so I don't know. Maybe he touched something, or maybe a particle of something got in his gill when you stirred stuff up, and he's like, "Get out," you know.
Right. Well, and I guess I didn't. I guess for some reason Facebook won't play the whole video. At the end, he literally flicks his dorsal fin,
Hmm.
like completely, like shakes it off with his tail. It's really
Maybe
wild. I've never
something
seen
got
it.
on him.
Maybe.
Do you ever get a hair in the tank?
Well, that could happen. I mean, that does happen.
I'm just thinking maybe if he's not doing it all the time, maybe something got on him or touched him or what, and he was trying to get it off.
Maybe.
He could have
Kevin.
been snicked. He could have been snicked by her because he was trying to come on to her, and she nailed him a couple times, and
Yeah,
that's
that's true
possible
too.
too.
That's true. And Kevin said, you have two 16-year-old girls. You're a gifted individual. Mwah. Thank you, Kevin. No sense to prove it with overstock tanks. I know, again, I just want babies so bad. I'm pressing the limits. I shouldn't be, but I do want to prove you can do an all-in-one for someone who can't, like in an apartment, set up sumps and all that we recommend for sure. I want to prove you can do it. And in this case, I just want them to pair up. And once they do, they're getting their own tanks. It's just
Well, just always remember, I do adopt Fry.
I know you do. Wait, and Shyla said my female does that coming to the front of the tank trying to hitch to me. She does that weird tail, like
Yeah.
I feel like it's a propeller. I mean, that sounds so
Yeah,
crazy,
no,
but
because
they're
Candy
trying
does
to
that
push.
when she does her food dance. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll use their tails to push themselves as they're swimming. But the one that was to the right in the
Yeah,
front
he was flicking.
definitely scratching.
He was flicking.
Yeah.
I agree, 110%. We
But
just
it
got to
could have
figure out why.
been, like if he's not doing it all the time, like I said, it might have been just a one-time thing. Something got stuck to him or in his gill or
How
whatever. A
come I've
piece of
never seen a seahorse push itself swimming with its tail?
What
they
now? Say that one more time.
I've never ever seen a seahorse use his tail to push himself swimming.
Really?
I don't think it's necessarily pushing them. It's emotion they have. And I notice mine do it when they're trying to get my attention. Like Candy does it when she wants me to come feed. It's like a like a waving motion almost. And yeah, I think you're right. I don't think she's using it to push. I think it's a gesture
One
of
of the
No,
some
reasons they
and I
get tired
disagree.
all
I
the time,
disagree. Go ahead,
one of the
Ray.
reasons they get tired all the time from swimming is because it's so much effort, because they're using their fins to move and to go up and down the bladder
Mhm.
is in use. But they don't physically use their tail to make them swim.
I disagree. I really do disagree because I feel
That's Chris.
like what?
That's
Ask
Chris.
Chris Carey, what are your thoughts? I'm asking you publicly because, and I'm not a scientist. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just tell me in the audience, you guys with seahorses, do you ever see your seahorses use their tail to go down? I'm not saying just to swim. Of course, they don't need their tail to swim, but to go across the tank, they just flip their little back fin, dorsal fin, excuse me, use their fins to do it. Their little ear fins. What are the ear
They
fins
tuck
called?
in to go fast. They'll curl up their tail and make it small to go
Right.
fast.
Right.
No,
They curl up their tail to go small or to go faster. And I've just the tail motion to go down is something I've seen before many times with many species with many seahorses. I
yeah,
can't believe you guys
see it.
don't.
I see it, but I'm
Chris,
thinking like Ray, it may be like
answer
a
Chris.
gesture they're doing, but I don't think it's actually helping them.
Maybe not, but I'm just saying
All
they've
right,
got
Chris
these little
says use
fins.
it for balance when
Use it
swimming.
for balance, he says.
So yeah, it's not
Maybe.
pushing them, I don't think. I think
See, I have a problem with that. They've got these little fins that propel them. You know, think about if you're blowing a bubble maker, that's not a good comparison. But if you start up a race car, you know, one of those old school ones where you pull it back and then it goes. It can't go backwards. It can't go this way. It's propelled, right? It's just going forward. And the seahorse, if it wants to go down instead of over there or over there, how would he do that? Or was that a really stupid question? I don't know. Oh no. Okay, Chris Carey said balance, but what I'm asking is it normal? Because I've seen this in all my seahorses, so maybe all my seahorses are crazy, but I've seen them all. If they're up top and let's say the male's chasing the female, right? He's trying to get her. She's running away. God, we have rapist seahorses. Anyways, he's trying to chase her. She's trying to get away. He gets close to her and she dives down with her head, not with her tail. She dives down somehow and he wants to get to her, but it's like behind him and they can't turn their heads, right? They have to turn their whole bodies. And I've just seen seahorses repeatedly use their tail to go like this behind them, like up and push down to get them down. Am I nuts? I feel nuts. I feel like you
I think
both
you're
think I'm nuts. All right, Ray. You think I'm nuts.
I'm trying to find you a video because I have Candy on video doing that thing with her tail.
Yeah, they can use their tail like a rudder to help steer, and
That's what I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
yeah, they do that, but I don't think it's pushing them.
It's not
it's,
propulsion.
it's not pushing them.
Yeah.
If they want to turn one direction, they can move the tail to help improve their turn. But they're not very adept in terms of using a tail compared to something like a monkey, chimpanzee.
Right. No, absolutely. And what I observed and what I thought with my non-scientific brain is this is a creature that just wants to go that way and doesn't know how. So his whole body's going, I want to go that way, you know? I mean, I don't know if it's working or helping him.
I got it.
Holly, you find something to share?
I did, yeah. I'm gonna
Okay, and
send it to you on your messenger. How's that?
Poison on, I see next Wednesday we're gonna have a guest. Gotcha. But go ahead, Holly. Or you can share it too. You know that, right?
Well, it's on my phone. If I go from my computer, it'll
Okay.
take me 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, keep in mind that they only have 3 fins, and that's going to be their primary method of motor control and steering. And they have to be able to use the tail at times, particularly if they get in a high current, to get to something and grasp something. and that's
Yeah.
going to be part of their survival ritual. So they do use the tail in different ways. However, it's not that always that obvious that that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, sure. And again, guys, I'm not minimizing the fact that I have an overstocked tank and they're having troubles. We got to figure it out. We will. But I'm curious about the movement. Holly, did you send it to me?
It's coming. It's spinning.
Ah, gotcha. Chris Perry said,
It'll show up.
have you ever tried swimming or diving? You use your arms and legs and whatever else you can to turn around underwater. Exactly.
Mhm.
Ray, you've never seen a seahorse use his tail to try to go down. That's just crazy to me. How do they go down?
Well,
They use their
uh,
dorsal
They
fin.
swim.
the
Yeah.
biggest thing is that bladder, and then they need the movement from their fins. And like Chris is saying there, they can use it for balance. But there's so many different
Steering.
things that could happen, but I've never ever seen one use a tail for propulsion, whether it's down, sideways, up.
Not even chasing a chick. Well,
Now, see, mine will though on objects,
I have seen them when
especially the ones that like to lay around.
I have seen them when they're in a big hurry curl their tails more tightly to get it out of the way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When they want to go fast, they curl that little tail up and book.
Yeah, and well, they're using their dorsal fin then to try to get up
Right.
some speed. Yeah,
The tail's not actually doing anything. It's just
right.
maybe propelling a little bit. But
But if you watch them long enough and they start to make a turn, they may extend, depending on how fast they're trying to turn, they may extend that tail out if you watch them and create a drag that turns them to one side.
Fascinating. And Ray, so regardless of all this, basically because of the fact that I haven't seen it since, you would not do a dip. You would just observe. In my case, and maybe do a better water change.
Not doing it.
Okay. All
Like
right.
while I was doing it, you might think about it, but if it only did it that day, or say last night and then today for a while, and then the next day it's not doing it anymore, and if it stays not doing it, don't worry about it.
So that's just something for anybody new. If we talk a lot about scratching and how that's a big no-no. Oh my gosh, freak out. But if you see it and it doesn't happen again, it may have just been something going on. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are cases where, your daughter or son sprays some cologne or something and it gets in the tank, and that's terrible. Have some prime on hand. But I'm just saying things can happen that alter the water, make them irritated. They could have irritated each other, as we talked about. Don't freak out and throw them in a dip until you observe and see what's really going on, is, I guess, what I was trying to get at for all this.
It's harder for new people because they don't know and they panic.
I panicked too.
I did it when I started.
Well, I still panic, just for the record, for anybody out there. When I saw that, I took a video because I was like, oh, this isn't good. Silly, it's, oh shit, got to fix it. But I haven't seen it since. And
for that matter, the two of them could have gotten into some kind of little scuffle or a little bit too much excitation, and they could have even rubbed themselves up against a rock and gotten, I'm not saying a laceration, but it could have been a painful experience.
Yeah, somebody got irritated.
I mean, I had a male that got his head stuck in a rock, and I got him out, fortunately. And his snout was about 3 times the normal size because he really rubbed it, but there was no real wounds on it. It was just very enlarged. And got out the Alamax, and he was back to normal within about 3 hours.
Shyla said when she's seen her seahorses use the tail to move or whatnot, it doesn't go near his or her gills. Right. And if you watch the video again, the first one was very obviously itching, scratching, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, though, I'll play it again just to make sure I'm not crazy here. Here we go. The second one, it
Really?
seemed, and you see how cloudy the tank was, a bunch of particles in the tank. But here we
I
go.
just
Let's
love
start it over.
organics. Yeah.
All right, so the male bully, but he's itching. He is itching. Something's bugging him. You can tell. And look at his coloration. Look at his yellow belly. Look at that. That's an itch. And the other one, the other male, is like,
I don't think anything about the coloration. That doesn't mean anything.
well, it does to me. I don't like it. But anyways, so this one's
Had red reed eyes turn
oh, see.
brownish, blackish, and I didn't like it either. But they do what they want.
Yeah, but when it's a mixed color like that, that just tells me stress.
Oh,
I just feel like they're
I've
stressed.
seen so many change just parts of their body.
I know. I'm not worried like they're sick. I just feel like they're stressed. Look at the cloudy tank. It's cloudy as heck. And it does cut off. You don't get to even see the little male swipe. I thought you guys got to see it earlier. Now I feel like I'm going crazy. All right. And they were just bickering. So, but he's obviously trying to get something off of him. That's a no good. That's no good. See him do his tail? His dorsal fin? Not tail. Sorry, dorsal fin. He was not happy with something.
Oh, did that just upload?
Hang on. Here we go.
Spinning a long time. Let me see.
But
if
see,
that
he
works.
doesn't touch himself. Did you guys see that? He doesn't actually touch himself. He's just trying to go up. It feels like to me.
Yeah.
I
No,
could be wrong.
he's definitely got something that's irritating him. That's that
Okay.
I'm sure of.
Yeah, so that video finally made it to you.
All right. Let me get that one up.
And
And
this
guys,
is
just goes to show we all make mistakes. Go ahead.
is her food dance. So she's moving her tail, up because she's doing her food dance.
I think I got two. Hang on.
Yeah, I had trouble sending, so maybe it sent. Yeah, it did send twice.
Okay, here we go.
Uploading.
Where she's using her tail to kind of move around.
Yeah, so see how, but she's doing like a dance thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's not scratching with her tail.
No. And see, then she takes me over to the dish. She's all, put it in here.
Right. Smart girl.
Dandy's dish. Yeah. Feed Dandy.
One more time. She says, Mama, come here.
Yeah.
Come over here. Look over here.
Do
you see me? Do you see me?
She's the designated.
She's the mama. She's the mama of the tank.
Food gather, yeah. No,
She's like-
she'll sit on that little palm tree where you see the other one sitting right now.
Yep.
She'll sit in that corner and watch for me to come home when I'm gone.
She is like the designated mama.
Then she'll be like, she's home.
What's funny to me is she treats you like you're stupid. I mean, like she's like, Mom, look, do you remember the food's supposed to go here?
Yeah.
I love it. But obviously, guys, Kelly screwed up, put too many seahorses in a tank. We got to fix it. So we will. It is interesting to me that I haven't seen the scratching since just after the water change. But when we have Poseidon next week on this channel, we will talk more about bacteria, why my tank keeps getting cloudy, what I could possibly do. Maybe we'll even talk ratios of K1 and stuff, because that's the stuff that gets me lost. Like I have a 1 liter. I don't know if that compensates. I have no idea. And Ray, you said that's normal seahorse action for sure. And in my video, it wasn't. I agree. So
Is your K1 in? I'm assuming it's inside the filtration portion of your tank.
Yep.
Okay.
In a 1 liter bottle. And Dan told me it was enough for the tank. And I'm sure that it is. But I have had trouble with air pumps and such where it, stopped spinning for a day or whatever.
If it stops, you've lost your filtration on that.
See, that's not what he said. He said that's not true. He said that
Well,
then
you're still going to have some. What's going to happen? The reason that you want to run flow and oxygen through it is one, it's an aerobic system, and two, the whole way that the ACK1 works is banging into each other, and it releases all the
knocks off the
crap. Yeah,
Right.
That's
He
what
just said, like, if it stops running, you could actually just leave it. It would act like a rock.
yeah,
I mean, that would be it. It doesn't do as much as it should do, for sure, but
right.
it's not going to hurt the tank, is what he told me. I don't know. But
As long as you don't overstock the tank.
right. There we go. Back to the real problem. Me. I'm the real problem. Gotcha.
No.
No. I knew that I was overstocking the tank. I just thought they'd pair up. I'd have a pair breeding and I could move them to different tanks. They're just taking a little while. They want to get to know each other. And I'm like, the relationship or the beginning of the relationship butterfly phase is over, dudes. Pick a partner. Give me babies. Stop it. But yeah, I noticed that. It freaked me out. So
when I got a bunch of 3-inch fry that I got to move to another tank, and I'm carefully picking the biggest ones to move into the big tank after keeping it running at 6 parts per million of not chlorine, nitrate or not nitrates. I'm with it tonight.
you're all right.
But water, basically totally trashing the tanks water chemicals to make sure it's going to withstand the load that I'm going to put on it.
That's the way to do it. Poisonon said, notice one go up to the surface for oxygen. I'm going to argue with you on that one, and we can argue next week nicely.
They do that.
We can argue nicely, but no, my seahorses when I approach the tank, period, they're at the surface. Their heads are out of the water. Like, give me food. I want food always. They squirt.
I love that when they're squirting out the top of their heads, they'll be hitched onto a overflow thing and just squirting water straight.
Right. And when they stick their heads out of the tank, I'm like, don't you need water to breathe? You freaking crazy. But no, Poisonon, I'm not arguing with your logic because I'm sure it's absolutely correct. I'm just saying with seahorses, man, they see mama coming and they're up at the top, like trying to give me kisses. I promise. But they just want food. But anyway,
I do that when they're courting. I'll see Candy and Scrappy Doo's little heads above the water.
You should see it.
Kevin said more Barry White music. There we go. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was gonna say you should have seen the first time I saw a seahorse making water pistons like that. It was the very first seahorse I ever owned, and I didn't know anything about seahorses back then. And all of a sudden, this water squirting out, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, it's gonna die! It's got a hole in its head."
Oh, geez, that's funny.
Mine was one of my fry batches when they were juveniles. They hitched to the arm, where the water comes into the tank, and there was a couple of them sitting there, and one would squirt, and then the other would squirt.
What's even really funny is when they get mad and they make the clicking sounds at the same time they're squirting water at you.
I
haven't had
I don't like when they get mad and do the clicking and the if you I'm curious, have all of us here experienced a seahorse that's stressed or pissed? Pissed usually. Hang on. Where you're actually, they're on your finger or something, or you're trying to get them to do a pouch evac or something, and they start crunching their bones. That's the only way I can put it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Ray, do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
You don't know when a seahorse starts making that noise and all its bones start.
I can't hear it.
Okay, wait. Time out. Everybody's talking. Ray, what'd you say?
I said I couldn't hear what you were saying.
What, you've never had a case where you had to handle a seahorse and they didn't want you to handle them, and therefore all of a sudden you don't even hear the sound, you feel it. you feel the sound,
Like
and
clicking.
it's like a crunching. Their bones are going. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Oh,
Never.
I thought it was,
They have a
I thought it
growling.
was in the
Wait,
jaw.
let Ray finish. Go ahead.
Anytime I had that happen, which wasn't that often, I thought it was just in the jaw that they were making the noise.
Yeah.
I
Let
had
Holly
one
talk.
time, I've only had it happen once, and it was recently when I was carrying Scrappy Doo between tanks, and it was like he vibrated his whole body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was what it was, is what it felt like you call it crunching bones or whatever. But yeah, it was like his whole body was vibrating.
Oof.
Okay, my turn real quick. My
Yes.
favorite one of all, one of my Combs males that I'd had for quite some time. He wasn't looking quite like I liked. He was delivered some fry, but I knew there were a lot more in there. So I decided to do a pouchy back. Guess what the sucker did? He had managed to deliver all the fry, and he squirted me in the eyes.
Oh, geez.
Take that.
Lovely.
From that point forward, I learned always wear goggles when doing a pouchy back. I mean, he got me good, and I definitely had a few inappropriate words after that.
Well,
Yeah,
if you've
deserved it. I deserved it.
if you've
No,
never
Scrappy
experienced
Doo was
that, good for
fine
you.
after I let him go back in the
Oh yeah.
display tank, and he didn't do it on the way over. Like when I carried him, because remember I told you guys about that day. I can't remember what it was that happened, but I think I know what it was. I cleaned the sump and I didn't clean it totally out, and it blew a bunch of crap into the
Yep.
tank. And I grabbed the seahorses and I put them in the other seahorse tank while it cleared up. And he didn't do that when I carried him in, but he did it on the way out. Like after
He was
the
trying
first
to tell you
experience, I
something.
guess he's like, I don't like this.
Uh-huh.
Are you talking about the growling sound that they'll make?
Yeah, no,
It was like
it's a
that, but he didn't make the
combination.
sound. I've heard people talk about the clicking, like a
I've
clicking
heard it.
sound. He
No, it's a
didn't do
growl.
that.
No,
It'll
no,
He
no,
stop.
didn't
it's a
make the
growl.
sound, but his body was
Yeah,
Yep.
really strong, vibrating.
yeah.
Yep.
And I
Those
didn't. I mean, they're strong. Like when they
yeah.
grip, they have like a vice grip. Seahorses are very strong, and he
Well,
was
and it's a
using that strength to vibrate everything. I'm like, wow.
But when
it's
they
a
start going,
mechanism to deter predators. You know, if you're
Mhm.
getting ready to snatch something up and it's like, you know, I mean, you don't want it anymore. Oh my God, what is this freaky thing? Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was going to say that they have a tendency. They have the bone cracking sounds that they make, and then they have the clicking sounds that they make that are audible. And when they get really, really upset, they do some crazy stuff.
Well, but Cheryl, the clicking sound I've always felt like was almost communication with each other, whereas the growl is more of I don't like what you're doing to me, or you know, you're a predator, or whatever. Like with us, they know we're their feeders. They know we're not or well, I hope they know we're not actually trying to hurt them, but they don't like whatever we're doing. We're moving them
Yeah.
from a tank. We're doing whatever, and so they're like, I'm going to vibrate and growl. Whereas the clicking sound, there's some scientific research that they're talking to each other, right?
Yeah, I've actually done it to them and had them come up to me when I clicked back at them.
Yeah, didn't we have somebody on this channel that did the clicking thing? I feel like we did. Maybe it wasn't with seahorses. Anyways, I don't know. But never heard a growl in all your years, Ray?
Nope,
Never?
never.
You've never heard your seahorses make sounds?
Well, I've heard them make sounds, but I've never heard any growl. The
Really?
clicking is basically what I've heard.
Now, when you say clicking, do you mean snicking or do you mean clicking? Now I'm getting into
There's
I'm
a
at,
bit of a difference in the click and the snick.
okay, tell
Yeah.
me.
There's the food action, but there is another noise that they do make. The clicking but I very seldom ever heard that too.
Do you think it's a mating thing?
I
I
don't,
think
I don't know.
I think Dandy clicked at me when he was new. He used to not like it when I picked him up and he used to play dead sometimes. And one time, I think when I was moving them out to redo the tank, I think he clicked at me. And it was, yeah, like Ray said, it was a clicking sound, not,
They do a
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
like,
We need Chris Carey to jump in here. He has so much experience with seahorses. We need to know the difference between clicking and snicking and growling. But and guys, I am so sorry if you're new and you just watched this first episode and we've talked about my problems and clicking and snicking and etc. Don't forget, whenever it's open chat, any questions you have, that's why we're here. We'll talk about your question other than mine. But if we don't have your questions, we're going to talk about mine. So
It
Yeah,
just
the
shows that
growl-
people
the
that are
growling-
experienced have problems too.
that's absolutely right, Ray. None of us have an easy time of it. We always say seahorses are not as hard as people say. But when you don't follow the rules, like I have not followed the rules, then you have troubles and then you have to get help. And Cheryl, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I say a growling sound, what it is it's not the clicking that you've heard. It's a much deeper, more continuous type of sound. And I've only heard that when I actually reached in and picked up a seahorse that was wild caught. And I've seen it more than one wild caught. And I've also seen them do the growling scenario when they're going after another male. I saw
Yep.
that in my engines.
Me too. I've seen a male growl at another male and go after him for true like vengeance, or I don't know. I've
Well-
also, what I would say though is I've seen a male go after a male and growl and snick at him and all that stuff. But I've also, what I would say the weirdest part, if you've never experienced it, is if you grab a seahorse that doesn't want to be grabbed or is stressed by you grabbing it and just is pissed off, not only do you feel that, I call it bone crunching. Holly, you called it something else. Vibrating.
like his whole body was vibrating.
But the sound, the growl, it's almost like you don't hear it, you feel it. I know that sounds so crazy, but it's the truth. You feel him growl at you.
Yeah.
And it's always been a male, actually, come to think of it.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had a female do that.
And Poisonon, we're not talking about dogs. We are talking seahorses.
Well,
What
I've seen particularly with it when I was keeping engines. Man, you want some phenomenal noises between two males going at each other because they don't play nice.
No.
It's not a little bit of chasing; it's headbutting and ramming each other, and I mean some real serious.
WrestleMania, World War II, whatever. They're nuts. But and Kevin said, clicking sounds like they were cussing you. No, the clicking sounds. That's the difference between the growl and the clicking.
Yeah.
So the clicking sounds, they're doing it to each other. I really feel like they're communicating. I know that sounds crazy, but I swear they are.
I've seen pairs do it that were working. Actually, the young pairs that were working on courting.
Yeah, they're talking to each other.
Well,
Yeah.
Dandy did it to me when I was.
Well,
curing.
he's trying to court you, Holly. He loves you.
Uh,
But the growling is
Someone
something.
say,
The
"Please don't
growling
growl."
is cussing you.
Oh,
And
they also have the body language where they'll actually start doing it kind of like a tremor when they're growling.
yeah,
It's very, I mean, if you've seen it and been around it and handled them when they're doing it, you'll never forget it.
yep. And Poisonon said, "Wow, didn't know this. So cool. Now you guys, now we got to get a video of it. So go home, piss your
It's so
seahorses
rare.
off." No, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. I'm kidding. But no,
Hey,
if
one
they
of
do
my
that, I
males-
will.
One of my males got so mad at me, he squirted me in my eyes.
Right?
He was getting
Absolutely.
back at me.
Well, that's the thing, is it's hard. You see these things, you feel these things, you hear these things, and it's hard to capture it on video. but that's my goal now. And Shyla said her seahorse communicate by strangling
They
each other.
strangling each other. Yeah, my
Right.
too.
Right.
They do that.
I've watched the new female go up to the old male and the old female grab her by the tail, swing her around to where she's facing the other direction. No, that's mine. Right. So I think they're okay
I
though.
think most of the time it's just a natural reaction for their tail to grab on anything that it touches.
You're telling me, Ray, that they're not trying to get the female away from the male.
I'm not saying that there are times where they may deliberately do something, but I
They
would say
do
the
it.
majority of times it's just automatic. Their tail will wrap onto something that it touches.
I will have a video
They
by
do that
next week.
too, but I've seen especially Sadie loves to do it. She'll come along and strangle somebody on purpose and then ask all innocent about it. And they're like, let me go. She'll aim for them.
I'm going to have a video for you by next week, Ray, and you can explain that it's not on purpose because they're vindictive when they want to be. I'm telling you. But you guys, I am going to try to close this a little early tonight. I'm sorry, a little early. We're almost 2 hours. But I have so much stuff to get done for the site and for everything else. We didn't have any questions, so we've been talking my stuff all night. So if there's anything else, comment right now. Otherwise, we will. Go ahead, Cheryl.
You need to hold a sweet 16 party for your fish too.
I don't think I could handle another sweet 16 party. That was so much. You don't even understand. Oh, okay, Chris is going to jump on after we talk. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, all right. So next week we're going to have Poseidon. Did I say it right? Poseidon on to talk bacteria. So this conversation will get even deeper and we'll figure out what we're talking about. But for tonight, I am going to have to let you all go. And we'll see you next week. Everybody say Happy Wine Wednesday. I know that's a very crass ending. I'm sorry. I'm
Happy Wine Wednesday.
All right. Happy Wine Wednesday. See you next week. Cheers.
Mine is Water Wednesday.
Good night.